Hello and welcome. You're watching Good Morning India. I'm Gargi Rawat. First up, a clarification from the Ministry of External Affairs regarding reports of Indian students being held hostage. India says have not received any such reports of any hostage situation regarding any student after Russia and Ukraine accuse each other of holding students hostage. Russia, in fact, said that Ukraine is using the students as a human shield. This is as Kharkiv is overrun and there are around 1,000 Indian students stranded in Kharkiv. The statement says our embassy in Ukraine is in continuous touch with Indian nationals in Ukraine. We note that with the cooperation of Ukrainian authorities, many students have left Kharkiv yesterday. We have not received any reports of any hostage situation regarding any student. We have requested support of the Ukraine authorities in arranging special trains for taking out students from Kharkiv and neighboring areas to the western part of the country. We have been coordinating effectively with the countries in the region, including Russia, Romania, Poland, Hungary, Slovakia and Moldova. A large number of Indian nationals have been evacuated from Ukraine in the last few days. We appreciate the help extended by Ukrainian authorities to make this possible. We thank Ukraine's western neighbors in receiving Indian nationals and for accommodating them while they waited for the flights to take them back. So, India, they're clarifying these reports and accusations made by Russia about Ukraine forces using Indian students as human shields and, in fact, accusing one another of holding students hostage. Let's go across to Nidhi Razdan now for more. And Nidhi, this was concerning this accusation that had emerged, but now India clarifying that they have received no such reports of any Indian student being held hostage.
Well, it is a big relief, Gargi. The Ministry of External Affairs just putting out a statement in the last few minutes saying that they have not received any reports of any hostage situation regarding any student. In fact, they said that we note that with the cooperation of Ukrainian authorities, many students have left Kharkiv yesterday. And they have gone on to say that they have requested the support of Ukrainian authorities to arrange special trains for taking out students from Kharkiv and neighboring areas to the west of the country. So essentially, you know, those the worrying reports that had come after the Russian Defense Ministry's claim yesterday that Indian students were being used as human shields and were being held hostage by the Ukrainians, India clearly saying it has no such reports, which would come as a big, big relief to many.
All right, Nidhi, thanks so much for joining us with those details. Indeed, a relief that India clarifying there that no reports of any Indian students being held hostage. Now, this as Russia has intensified its attacks on key Ukrainian cities. Ukraine is waking up to the 8th day of the Russian invasion, and fighting is raging in north, east and south, and hundreds of people are feared dead in the southern port of Mariupol following hours of sustained shelling. The city's deputy mayor has said, also the mayor of the city of Kherson, which is also the south, says the area is under control of Russian forces, and Kiev has also experienced blasts overnight. It's been over a week now. Today, as we said, is the 8th day of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And NDTV's Vishnu is in Poland, where he met with several of the Indian students who managed to cross over into Poland, and they spoke about the kind of harrowing journeys that they had to make to get across the border, about being beaten and even asked for bribes from on the way by some of the guards.
Well, as we enter eastern Poland and we're on our way to Ukraine itself, we've come across several Indian students finally on their way out. Many of these students have been greatly distressed over the last couple of days. They join us now to tell us about their experiences. What's your name?
My name is Arpit Rai.
And Arpit, where have you been trying to come from?
Actually, I'm from Ternopil, but I was stuck in Kiev.
So you've gotten out of Kiev?
Yes.
When?
I guess on 24th. No, I was stuck there. I got out from Kiev at 27th of Feb.
All right. How difficult was it to come over here?
Actually, it was quite difficult because we had the booking in the train, but the train didn't departed, and then the blackout. There was a whole blackout, and there was firing over the railway station.
What is your name, sir?
My name is Dheeraj, and I am in 5th year from Ternopil.
What are you studying over there?
Medicine.
How difficult was it to get over here?
It was very difficult since I was there at Medica border from 6 days.
Right.
But that border is just accepting the women's first, and they were already beating the Indian men's every time. And some of our students, like Indian students, 70 to 80 students, were like blackout. They were like unconscious for 9 to 10 hours. They were like sleeping.
Which border was this?
Medica border.
How far is that from here? How did you get from Medica to this place?
From Medica, we went back. We walked for 30 kilometers back. We walked, and then we booked a taxi and we went to Budomiris border, because in Medica we were unable to like pass. They were not allowing us to go. And after that we just passed by the Budomiris with the help of embassy.
Right. And can I ask you a question, if that's okay? What is your name?
My name is Tisha.
And you must be relieved to be going home.
Yeah, sure.
The last few days must have been very frightening for you.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit about it?
I passed Ukraine from Medica border, as I was with him only.
Where were you studying?
At Chernobyl National University.
Right. And did you see a lot of the fighting or hear it? Or
Yes. One night I spent in bunker, and the next day we decided to leave for border to cross Ukraine. Then I spent 3 nights and 2 days at the border. After facing lot of trouble, like as he said, women were allowed to pass, so they let us pass the border. Eventually we crossed the border and entered into Poland, and then there was an NGO who helped us, and then we came here, and Indian Embassy also helped us a lot. Yeah.
Would somebody else, would one of you like to also speak? Hi, what is your name?
I am Pragati.
Pragati, where were you studying? Where have you come from?
So I'm studying in Chernobyl National Medical University, and
How difficult was it in the last few days?
So sir, it was extremely difficult because we have to cross the border by our feet, and also there were like queues for 30 to 35 kilometers, so we have to walk all that distance by our feet, and in like extremely cold situation. The temperature was around maybe -4, -5, and there were no shelters, no food, nothing. We just had to travel, and like we have to keep all our documents with us, with our laptops, because these are important things. Like we can't leave our books behind. Like, and these things are heavy, right? And also while we reached on borders, there were like a lot of Ukrainian guards which were not allowing us to escape. You already know that story. Like there are a lot of news about
But the embassy did finally come through for you. They brought you here. When did that happen?
Sir, actually, yeah, they helped, but like they were not there when we actually needed them. Like at the borders, they were not available. They came after we crossed the border, but we needed them like before the border thing.
So you crossed into Ukraine?
We came to Poland, and then embassy was there.
Sorry, you crossed over into Poland, and that's when they put you onto buses and brought you here.
Yeah, but we actually needed them while crossing the border because we were beaten. A lot of our friends, they were not allowed to cross the borders. They were not allowing any of the boy to cross the border, and like that was the time when we needed the embassy actually.
Right. Are you relieved now to be going home to your parents? You're safer. Anybody else wants to say something? Over here, come. Will you come forward for a second? Just one or two of you. Just how relieved are you now to be going home?
Now I'm relieved, but you know, it's like I'm alive, that's why I'm relieved.
How close was it? How bad was it?
We come here from Kharkiv, you know.
Yeah. When did you get here from Kharkiv?
Today morning. I just crossed the
Kharkiv
border.
was the worst affected place.
Worst.
How did you reach from Kharkiv to here?
Yes, we came from Kharkiv. It was really hard. We walked first 10 kilometers, 12 kilometers from the metro station to the Vokzal because we wasn't having taxi. Then after we came to the Vokzal, we hardly managed to get inside the platform. We got beaten up by the police officers, by the militants. They were allowing Ukrainian on the priority basis. Then after on the country priority basis, for example, of like different good countries, they wasn't allowing any Indians. I'm telling on And then after they allowed some girls, and then after they asked for the bribe. They asked for the $200 if you want to get a ticket on the
for each person.
For each person.
Crazy. Right.
And then after we said like at night we stayed on the platform. They said if you want to stay here, you also need to pay. And they were so drunk. They misbehaved. We hardly managed because I said like okay, let us stay. In morning we'll go home.
Kharkiv is actually the worst. As you know, today the government of India has said get out of there because they were given a few hours.
Why the people were told said this thing before sir? They could have given the advisory as the US government have given it. Like just like
every countries, other countries.
What was the point of?
So you feel that the advisory came late? Very late, several days late. All right, look, all of you are now very fortunate to be over here. It's warm over here. You're going. Is this an Indian Air Force plane you're going back on? It's that on a C-17. I saw it back over there. No, you were saying that one child unfortunately died. He was shot in Kharkiv. Did you know him?
Yes, he's our senior. His name is Naveen. His name is Naveen. He's from Karnataka.
Yes, kind of.
In one or two parties
we all
we
are
met.
in. Yes, sir.
Who knew Naveen over here?
We met. I don't know him personally, but I met him like in university, and I have known him like in person. And he died. Like I feel so bad. Maybe I would have been instead of him. Anyone could be instead of him. No one. There was no advisory given by any Indian government. No advisory given by any authority. We took step on ourselves. We decided to move from that place.
And how did you get here?
I have explained to you. We walked to the metro. We hardly came to the platform. I stood
And how
up.
long was the drive or the train from
18 hours.
Kharkiv?
18
20
hours. I can even show
And you
my
know,
leg.
in
You can
train
see
you
the swelling.
can't
You
even
can see
move
the-
on a
you
single
can see the
from a
swelling.
single place to other
I
place.
have the swelling on my legs still.
Okay, all right. So as you can see, several voices of Indian students, they're all relieved to be going home. But their point is the last couple of days have been absolute hell for them. That they're lucky to be here with their lives. Hopefully this ordeal is now over for them. They get back to their safety of their homes. But for many more Indian students who are still stuck in Ukraine, this remains a real crisis. Vishnu Shom for NDTV.
All right, Vishnu, there in Poland with some of those students who managed to cross over, and many of those students have now arrived in Delhi. The Indian Air Force has been helping now with the evacuation of Indians from countries neighboring Ukraine. 4 C-17 transport aircrafts landed at the Hindon Air Base overnight. The first had taken off from the Romanian capital with 200 Indians, and this was followed by one from Romania, Hungary and Poland. In all, 800 Indian citizens have been brought back. NDTV's Akshay spoke to some of them, and many of them expressed concern about the students who remain stuck in Ukraine.
The first flight by the Indian Air Force has landed in the Hindon Air Base and carrying approximately 200 Indians who were evacuated from the Romanian capital, Bucharest. All of these Indians were stranded in different parts of Ukraine. They traveled to Romania, many on foot for several hours. They had to wait for several hours at the Romanian-Ukraine border. We'll try and speak to them, try to understand what exactly the journey was like. How difficult was it to cross the border, reach Romania?
It was so difficult because we have to walk 10 kilometers to reach the border, and there you have to stand like 1 to 2 days to cross the border.
You had to wait there.
Yes.
Also, there were reports coming in that there was some manhandling of the students who were there. There was some chaos there at the border as
Yes.
well. What was that?
Yes, in recent, when we reached there was so much of chaos. People were pushing each other, but later when situation get bad, some of the officials came and evacuated the students from there. But till then, the students were sleeping on the streets. There are many students who are still standing, and some are even not there. We are trying to contact them, but we lost them. There is no contact. There is a list of missing students from the border. Since we are finding them.
The situation what you see is completely different what actual situation is. वहाँ पे जैसे कि हम ओडेसा, जहाँ पे आप जानते हो कि सबसे पहला अटैक शुरू हुआ था वहाँ के नेवल बेस पे, हम वहाँ से आ रहे हैं. वहाँ पे कर्फ्यू रात में तो वैसे लगा ही होता था, बट दिन में पूरे टाइम आर्मी एक्सप्लोजन्स, मतलब शेलिंग सब कुछ होते रहती थी. हम अभी यहाँ आए जिसको बोला जा रहा है इवैक्यूएशन. आई डोंट नो यहाँ पे सब में से अग्री करेंगे ही इस बात पे. इसको इवैक्यूएशन का नाम दिया गया है. पर आप एक बात बताइए, जो कंट्री ऑलरेडी सेफ थी रोमानिया, वहाँ से आप हमें फ्लाइट से यहाँ लेकर आए, आप इसको इवैक्यूएशन कैसे बोल रहे हो? हमें जो वहाँ पे यूक्रेन में आपको सेफ्टी प्रोवाइड करना चाहिए था. हमें जो सिटी ऑलरेडी इतनी खतरनाक थी, वहाँ पे या तो एम्बेसी से किसी को मदद के लिए भेजना था ताकि स्टूडेंट्स को वो गाइड कर सके बॉर्डर पे, वो तक नहीं किया गया है. स्टूडेंट्स को बस बोल दिया गया कि आप अपना बस पकड़ो और चले जाओ.
आपको एम्बेसी ने ये भी क्लेम किया है कि वहाँ पर हेल्पलाइन जारी की गई है.
जी, आपको पता है, आपने यहाँ पूछ लीजिए, सब लोग हैं जो कभी आपका फ़ोन नहीं उठाएगी, और जब फ़ोन उठाएगी ना 10 लोगों को 10 बातें बोलेगी, और लास्ट अगर आप ज़्यादा क्वेश्चन करोगे ना, वो सीधा बोलेंगे सॉरी सर, हमें इसके बारे में ज़्यादा इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं है, हमें फ्री फ्लाइट्स नहीं चाहिए थी. शायद आप लोग उनसे भी पूछे, आप लोगों को फ्री फ्लाइट चाहिए थी या यूक्रेन में आप लोगों को सेफली बॉर्डर आना था?
सेफली बॉर्डर आना था.
बॉर्डर तक आना और बॉर्डर से क्रॉस करना, ये वाकई में ये है प्रॉब्लम, ना कि वहाँ से इवैक्यूएट करा के लेके आ जाना. ये तो सिर्फ है ना, जैसे सर ने बोला अभी, जैसे प्लेन में जब आए थे तो बैक एंट्री लेके अपने आप को बड़ा दिखाना अच्छी बात नहीं है. एग्जैक्टली पता है प्रॉब्लम क्या है? खार्किव में, सूमी में,
वहाँ भी
वहाँ उतारो कार्गो। एक्चुअली इंडियन आर्मी के ऊपर नहीं करेगी रशियन आर्मी हमला, वहाँ उतारो कार्गो और वहाँ से निकालो बच्चों को, क्योंकि वहाँ से उनके पास आने तक का ऑप्शन नहीं है।
बच्चे भी खार्किव में फंसे हैं,
उनके पास 7 दिन से बंकर में है, जिनके पास खाने के लिए कुछ नहीं है। लिटरली बता रहा हूँ मैं आपको, बॉर्डर पे पता है इतनी गंदी भीड़ है, सारे बच्चे पहने के वो बॉर्डर पे भग के जाते हैं, बॉर्डर क्लोज हो जाते हैं।
आज आप बोल रहे हो, आपने एडवाइजरी देखा होगा, कल बोला गया था कि आप किसी भी हाल में निकलो, चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए निकलो। सर लास्ट मोमेंट आपने ये बातें क्यों बोली? जब सिचुएशन और ज्यादा खराब हो गई तब आपको क्यों निकला कि नहीं बच्चों को तो खुद ही अब निकलना पड़ेगा? सर कल मजबूरी थी, क्योंकि सबने यहाँ पे जानते हैं हमारे एक कलीग की डेथ हो चुकी है। सर मजबूरी थी सबका निकलना, नहीं निकलते सर घर से प्रेशर है सबके ऊपर कि क्या हो जाएगा। हमें नहीं चाहिए फ्री फ्लाइट्स, हमें बस बॉर्डर तक सेफली पहुँचाइए। हम सरकार से ये एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं, हमें नहीं चाहिए। हम ये 10 बार बोल रहे हैं, प्लीज हमें इवैक्यूएशन नहीं कराना है अगर ऐसा इवैक्यूएशन है।
They are saying that the evacuation needs to be done of the students who are in Kharkiv, who are in other cities like Sumy city, so that those students who still are struggling to escape from those cities can be back home safe. With camera person Ashwini Mehra, Makshay Dongre for NDTV.
And Prime Minister Modi spoke to the Russian President Vladimir Putin yesterday evening, and they discussed the situation in Kharkiv, where Indian students remain stranded. A statement from the Foreign Ministry said that the Prime Minister and Mr. Putin reviewed the situation in Ukraine, especially in the city of Kharkiv, where many Indian students are stuck. In fact, over 1,000 are said to be stranded there. They discussed the safe evacuation of Indian nationals from the conflict areas. The Prime Minister also chaired a meeting on the Ukraine crisis. It was the 5th high-level meeting in the last 3 days. Now, Kharkiv is virtually under Russian control, and female students have already been sent on their way to Ukraine's western border by train, a 20-hour journey with the help of Russians. And government sources have told NDTV efforts are on to evacuate the male students as well. We spoke to Neeta earlier for more details.
Indians are now being evacuated from Kharkiv with the help of Russians. In fact, the government sources, as you were also mentioning, are very categorical when they say Kharkiv is now virtually under Russian control, and Russians, on Indian request, in fact, avoided those areas from where Indians were supposedly traveling. All girl students, because since last 3 or 4 days we were seeing so many videos which were going viral, in which students were telling various sorts of complaints and various sorts of problems that they were facing. So all girl students are now on their way to the western border by train. Some boys are left behind, but the government authorities are also working out a plan to pull them out also. Russia is also helping India for safe passage in other cities also. That plan is also being worked out. That's what our sources are telling us. In that backdrop, the Prime Minister of India spoke to Putin, and as you were also mentioning, that they spoke about the welfare and how the situation of Ukraine, especially in the city of Kharkiv, where Indian students were stuck. They discussed this issue, and now what we are being told, this Operation Ganga, as many as 17,000 Indian nationals have already left Ukraine and have reached India after various advisories were sent out by the Indian government.
We'll slip into a short break and return with more updates from Ukraine. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now, the UN General Assembly voted to condemn Russia's invasion in its first emergency meeting since 1997. The 193-member General Assembly voted to reaffirm its commitment to the sovereignty, independence, unity and territorial integrity of Ukraine. Russia's aggression against Ukraine was deplored in the strongest terms. India abstained, however, from the voting on the resolution. This is the third abstention in less than a week. The resolution was adopted with 141 votes in favor, 45 member states voting against and 35 abstentions, including India and China. The General Assembly broke into an applause as the resolution was adopted, and Ukraine President Zelensky tweeted, "I praise the approval by the UN General Assembly with an unprecedented majority of votes of the resolution, with a strong demand to Russia to immediately stop the treacherous attack on Ukraine. I'm grateful to everyone and every state that voted in favor. You have chosen the right side of history." Destructive results of the vote for the aggressor convincingly show that a global anti-Putin coalition has been formed and is functioning. The world is with us. The truth is on our side. Earlier we spoke to Nidhi Razdan for more.
If you look at the countries that have abstained, that it also includes Afghanistan, some of our neighbors like Bangladesh, etc., Pakistan, Sri Lanka, who have abstained, but other countries like Bhutan, Afghanistan, Nepal, who are also in our neighborhood, they voted for this resolution and against Russia at the UNGA. Now, the Indian envoy to the United Nations, Mr. Tirumurti, has explained why India has voted this way, essentially saying and repeating what India has said before, that the safe passage for Indian nationals is the priority of India at this time, and again calling on there to be a cessation of hostilities and violence. He pointed out that India has dispatched humanitarian assistance to Ukraine, that India supports the international community's call for an immediate ceasefire, etc. But once again, India choosing to play it safe with Russia, given its long-standing ties with Russia, and even though overwhelmingly the world has voted against Russia, India has decided, not surprisingly, to abstain once again. Interestingly, the UAE was one of the other countries that was consistently abstaining in its votes regarding Russia, but today the UAE has voted against Russia at the UNGA, so that certainly has been something of interest to look at.
The Chief Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has announced that he's opened an investigation into potential war crimes by Russia during its invasion of Ukraine. This was announced today, March 3rd. The ICC's tribunal is investigating possible war crimes during Russia's invasion. The headquarters of the International Criminal Court is at The Hague in Netherlands, and on a Wednesday, an unprecedented number of the ICC's member states had requested the ICC prosecutor open the investigation into possible war crimes. Now, while the Indian government has ramped up its efforts around the border countries to bring back Indian students, the challenge really is accessing the border. Desperate students are now walking in the war zone, desperately seeking help.
Desperate Indian students at Kharkiv struggling to get local transport walk to the railway station instead. Just hours after the bombing and killing of an Indian student. But at the Kharkiv railway station, no relief. Hours of waiting with platforms full of Indian students, but restricted trains that they aren't even allowed to board alleged Indian stranded students, adding that soldiers now not allowing them to take videos.
हम लोग अभी है खारकीव रेलवे स्टेशन पे और हम 3 घंटे से यहाँ पे खड़े हुए हैं और हमें अंदर घुसने नहीं दिया जा रहा। एक ट्रेन आके चली जा चुकी है और जिसमें से सबको बाहर निकाला गया है। मुझे नहीं पता क्यों, ठंडी बढ़ रही है, बर्फ पड़ रही है और हमें नहीं पता कि अगली ट्रेन में भी हमें घुसने दिया जाएगा या नहीं।
But as they wait at the station for hours, this short notice, urgent advisory by the Indian embassy emerges, asking them to leave Kharkiv immediately and to reach either of the 3 settlements by evening.
गन शॉट फायर कर रहे हैं, हमें डरा रहे हैं, धमका रहे हैं। हम लोगों को ट्रेन में चढ़ने नहीं दिया जा रहा और लड़कियों को मारा भी जा रहा है, लड़कों को मारने की धमकी भी दी जा रही है।
ये सुमी का bunkers.
In Sumy, northeastern border of Ukraine, closer to Russia, worried students still at the hostels, waiting for directions from the embassy on where to move.
There are bombardments and firing, nights, tanks, and other lot of dangerous things happens, and we don't feel safe anymore. Like we are running to bunkers. Our nearest border is Russia.
India has raised requests to evacuate Indians via Russia as well, among other neighboring countries of Ukraine.
We are in touch with the Indian authorities as regards the citizens of India currently in Kharkiv. We have received the Indian request for for the emergency evacuation of all those stuck there.
यूक्रेन में अभी भी बहुत बच्चे फंसे हुए हैं, उनको भी अभी तक कुछ इंडियन एम्बेसी नहीं निकलवा पा रही है। सिर्फ यहाँ के कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स जो हमारे पर्सनल कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स थे जो हमें यहाँ पे लाए थे, सिर्फ वो हमें निकाल रहे हैं।
While government claims that around 12,000 of the 20,000 Indians have been evacuated, for Indians stranded in eastern Ukraine, the ordeal to navigate their own way to safety is harrowing. Sneha Koshi for NDTV.
Welcome back. Russia has intensified its attacks on key Ukrainian cities with fighting raging in north, east and south. In fact, Ukraine waking up to the 8th day of the Russian invasion. Hundreds of people are feared dead in the southern port of Mariupol following hours of sustained shelling. And Kiev also has experienced blasts overnight. It's been over a week since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Well, to talk about the situation in the country, we're joined by Anna Chernikova, reporter with the Voice of America, who joins us from Lviv, which is next to Poland, and it's here that many people are heading to cross the border. Anna, if you could tell us what is the situation in Lviv and what was your experience getting there?
Well, I'm in the Lviv region. The situation here is more or less fine. There are sometimes you can hear alarms, sirens, alarms, but more or less it's fine. People are on the alarm as well, so the territorial defense is ready. The road here, well, it takes very long time to get because the road is very busy. A lot of people try to escape Kiev and all the areas with active hostilities. So it takes 3 times or even 4 times longer than normal to get there. But here, for the moment, it's quite fine.
All right. And also right now in Lviv, there are many people who are arriving there trying to cross over the border to Poland. What is it like there?
There are a lot of people really on the borders, and mostly children and women, because men are not allowed, Ukrainian men are not allowed out. So usually men are getting their wives and children to the border and then come back. Queues at the border are huge. Poland border is like couple of days. The queue is around 25 kilometers. So it takes a couple of days to cross. Now we have new points where you can cross. So the situation is a little bit better. Romania and Hungary situation is not that busy as at the Poland border, but still Slovakia is a little bit better, and it's possible to get through quite much quicker. As far as I know, almost 5,000 people have already crossed the border. So this is for now.
Right. And Anna, many civilians are joining the fight and they're picking up arms against Russia. What can you tell us?
Yes, in every region, in every village, in every town, we have territorial defense. So basically, these are civilians who create these defense groups, and they are on the alarm. They are helping our armed forces to protect. Also, in some towns, people just gather on the street. They get out on the street. There are thousands of people, and they just stay in front of the tanks, in front of heavy military weapons which are coming in, Russians, and they just don't let them in. But territorial defense is working very hard, and is a huge part of the defense.
Right, Anna, now there are also reports as people are trying to escape to the border of racism against foreigners who are trying to escape, Indians, Africans, Asians, they're not being allowed onto buses and trains.
No, I didn't hear anything about that. As far as I know, a lot of foreigners been already evacuated. honestly, I didn't hear anything about this. I know that one Indian guy was killed accidentally during this shootings by Russian military. This is what I've had, what I've read in the official sources. But it's nothing about racism or anything like that. Foreigners are allowed to cross, so the only problem for them is that they also have to wait in a queue because there are huge queues on the border.
All right, well, those are some of the reports that are coming in. But Anna, finally, what is the situation in Kiev, and Russian troops and Russian forces are now attempting to surround the capital?
The capital is not surrounded yet, and defense is working very hard. Territorial defense, civilian defense, and Ukrainian armed forces are fighting for Kiev. It's not surrounded. For the moment, the fights are going on. The fights are very intensive. Yesterday we had airstrikes. It was the TV tower was almost reached, but it was not destroyed. The explosion happened just next to it. There are civilians who died, unfortunately, but Kiev is fighting, and people are quite positive because, well, what our soldiers are doing in there is just a miracle. So Kiev is keep on fighting, and we hope that it will be not surrounded, and it will fight back maybe quite soon. We really hope for that.
All right, very optimistic there. Thank you so much, Anna, for speaking to us here at NDTV. Now, the worry for India is the Indian students who are stuck. Many have managed to escape from the western side, but those who are in the eastern side, like Sumy and Kharkiv, that is where the big worry is. And here's a report on some of the students who are stuck in bunkers in Sumy, and they're running out of resources.
अभी भी हम लोग यूक्रेन के शहर सुमी में ही फंसे हुए हैं, अभी तक यहीं पे हैं, सुमी में ही हैं। यहाँ पे हम लोगों को कैश की दिक्कत आ रही है, कैश नहीं है, कैश की दिक्कत है। एटीएम्स गए हुए थे, एटीएम में कैश नहीं है, सारी बैंक क्लोज है, यहाँ पे कर्फ्यू लगी हुई है।
खाने पीने में भी बहुत दिक्कत आ रही है, हमें एटीवी जाते हैं, सुपरमार्केट्स जाते हैं, वहाँ पे कोई भी सामान नहीं मिल रहा, और उन लोगों ने बोल भी रखा है कि अगर सामान सुबह सुबह आता है, कभी कभी आता है, तो उन लोगों ने बोल रखा है कि एक पर्सन सिर्फ एक ही ब्रेड ले पाएगा। आज अभी सुबह हम रेस्ट कर रहे थे और एकदम से काफ़ी ज़ोरदार धमाके की आवाज़ है और सभी उठ के बैठ गए।
कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन हम लोग को मिली है कि कुछ एजेंट्स हैं जो कह रहे हैं कि तुम लोग खुद ट्रांसपोर्ट करो, कार करो, बसेस करो और तुम लोग निकलो सुमी से। सर, हम लोगों के पास पैसे नहीं है, कैश नहीं है, हम लोग खुद से ट्रांसपोर्टिंग का कैसे करके यहाँ से निकलेंगे? ये खुद करना बहुत टफ है, और बाहर में तो कर्फ्यू भी लगा हुआ है, ये परेशानी आ रही है हम लोग को, ये कैसे कर सकते हैं?
और बड़ी बात ये है कि फिलहाल अभी हम यहाँ पे ऐसी सिचुएशन में फंसे हुए हैं, ट्रेन्स का कोई रूट नहीं है। सुनने में आया कि हम कल गए थे रेलवे स्टेशन चेक करने के लिए, कंफर्मेशन के लिए कि ट्रेन्स ऑपरेटिंग हैं या नहीं है, तो पता चला कि वहाँ पे वैसे तो रेलवे स्टेशन बिल्कुल भी कोई भी नहीं था वहाँ पे उनका कोई भी। तो अभी वहाँ पे कोई लोकल से उन्होंने बताया कि जो रेल ट्रैक्स हैं वो एयर स्ट्राइकिंग के कारण टूट चुके हैं और जल्दी ही उन्हें रिपेयर किया जाएगा ताकि सुमी का जो रूट है उसको जल्दी से ठीक किया जाए और ट्रेनिंग ऑपरेशनल हो जाए। पर अभी फ़िलहाल तक कोई भी ट्रांसपोर्टेशन का जरिया नहीं है जो कि हम सुमी से किसी और सिटी में निकल सकें और हम इवैक्यूएशन में शामिल हो सकें। ऐसा कोई भी अभी तक प्रोसेस नहीं है और हमारे लिए तो खासा ही नहीं है कोई सुमी के लिए।
All right, so those are accounts of some students who are stranded in Sumy in eastern Ukraine, and they're unable to get out and they are hiding, as they mentioned, there in bunkers and running out of resources. But let's now get you the latest on polling, and it is the 6th and penultimate day of elections in Uttar Pradesh, and polling is underway in eastern Uttar Pradesh in 57 constituencies spread across 10 eastern UP districts, including that of Yogi Adityanath, the Chief Minister. Let's go across to Saurabh, who joins us from Balia. And Saurabh, tell us about some of the issues that are here, and it's in these phases that we'll really eventually know whether Akhilesh Yadav's caste calculations will work.
Absolutely, Gargi. Eastern UP has 111 seats and BJP had 100 seats.
And in this sixth phase, there are 57 seats which are polling today. BJP had 147 seats. And Akhilesh Yadav is very hopeful that he has done the same social engineering what BJP did in 2017. O.P. Rajbhar, who was with BJP, now he is with Samajwadi Party, and especially in Balia, Rajbhar votes can be deciding factor on almost 4 seats out of 7 seats of Balia. In last election, BJP had won 5 seats out of 7 seats. So BJP outperformed Samajwadi Party and BSP in eastern part of Uttar Pradesh. As we've been discussing this previously also, Gargi, religion is not very dominant factor here. Caste overpowers religion. That is why Akhilesh Yadav is very hopeful this time, because that caste calculation plus Yadav OBC is with him. But how will it counter free ration scheme of BJP in rural India? That's a big question. We've been tracking that story. Of course, people are happy they're getting free ration, but in those rural areas, stray cattle is a big, huge issue. And apart from that, unemployment, especially the young boys who are preparing to go to army. There were no vacancies in last 3 years. They are very agitated. In fact, they had protested in Defence Minister Rajnath's rally as well in almost 3 places. So that is very important. But caste is playing important role, especially in Balia. Prime Minister Modi launched Ujjwala Yojana in 2016. That is why when Prime Minister had come here to do a rally last week, Prime Minister said that he has an emotional attachment with Balia. So that emotional appeal from people of Balia will help BJP to retain those 5 seats, or Akhilesh Yadav social engineering, that caste politics will help Akhilesh Yadav to win back his lost ground in 2017 will come to know on 10th. Gargi.
All right, thanks so much, Saurav, for joining us. With that, an NDTV Sanket is in Gorakhpur, and it's from there that Chief Minister Adityanath is contesting his first assembly elections. He sent us this report.
We've heard and seen many people talking about unemployment as well as, stray cattle menace. In an election like Uttar Pradesh, which is so driven by caste and religion, for these issues to find prominence even in places like Azamgarh, in western UP, in many parts of Purvanchal, is a first in many ways. Where will Yogi Adityanath and his incumbents find themselves amid this sort of anger? And can that anger translate into votes in favor of the Samajwadi Party? These are some of the questions. Or can the BJP, from what we have observed, convince the people that they have actually fixed law and order? And law and order is the big highlight which, along with Vikas, that the BJP can offer. Purvanchal has the answers for that, and this is the Garh for Purvanchal in Gorakhpur. In this phase, there are 57 seats in all, 10 across 10 eastern UP districts. The reason why I say Purvanchal is important, Gargi, because of the 111 seats in 2007, 70 went to the BSP and they formed the government. 80 went to the Samajwadi Party in 2012 and they formed their government. 100 went to the BJP in 2017 and they formed the government. I guess we understand what Purvanchal means. It's a bellwether region. Which way is Purvanchal swinging? And here Hindu-Muslim does not work. The caste equations work. Who has the caste equation right is going to be very crucial. This morning, when Yogi Adityanath went to cast his vote, he came out and spoke to the media, and he made a very interesting comment. That 80-20 comment, which became famous because of its undertone of being communal in nature. The Chief Minister today said that 80% is what I meant, the number of seats the BJP is going to get. And the fight of the entire opposition is going to be on the remaining 20%. So that's a redefinition or a new definition of the 80-20, which now has been presented by the Chief Minister.
All right, so here's that soundbite of Yogi Adityanath that Sanket was referring to when he clarified his 80-20 comment and said that 80% of the seats are with the BJP and the opposition is fighting over 20% of them.
मैं इसको कह सकता हूं कि 80% से अधिक सीटें भारतीय जनता पार्टी के पक्ष में आएंगी 20% सीटों में बंटवारा होगा, जिसमें पूरा विपक्ष आपस में इन सीटों को लेकर के उन 20% सीटों में ही उनमें आपस में बंटवारा होना है। ये 5 चरणों का जो रुझान है, भारतीय जनता पार्टी प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के मार्गदर्शन और नेतृत्व में पूर्ण बहुमत से काफी आगे वर्तमान में चल रही है और आज छठे चरण का जो चुनाव है, इसमें जोरदार छक्के लगेंगे और भारतीय जनता पार्टी 300 के लक्ष्य को प्राप्त करने की ओर अग्रसर होगी।
All right, time for us to slip into a short break. On the other side, we're going to move away from all the election news. Today is World Hearing Day. We're going to talk about the importance and why there needs to be more awareness to prevent deafness. We'll be joined by Dr. Sugata Bhattacharjee.